So I actually completed my A-levels and followed my education through until A-levels, and at that point I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So I started looking around and working a few different roles and careers and the like, and I found this website called Not Going to Uni, and that basically put me on the path of looking into different opportunities that I'd never really considered before. So I would look at business roles that were coming up and start to read into them, and it sort of piqued my interest. So one thing led to another, and I applied to a business and was fortunately very lucky in the application and got offered the job role, and it led me into the world of data and data analysis. So I started out on a very granular level looking at products and product performance and trying to figure out what trends there were to try and react and maximise profits and the like. So yeah, it was a bit of a rocky start. Once I found where I was, I felt very happy and very comfortable. Yeah, so that's how I started out. It was predominantly product planning and understanding trends, but realised whilst I was there was a big issue with the ways that we were working. It was very different from team to team, so that led me into how do I solve that, and that brought me into coding. That's where I started my coding career, which then very quickly allowed me to automate a lot of our life. So we weren't focused on how do we get to the data, but how do we present and understand that data and make those decisions to transform the business. I actually worked quite closely with suppliers in that role at Tesco, and it was kind of a natural progression to go supplier side. So I'd worked the retail side, I understood that aspect of the business, and I wanted a change of circumstance, a new challenge, and so an opportunity with the supplier came up, and they needed somebody to come and do some of the analysis work, but also because of my coding skill set, they realised it'd be quite useful for them to help turn their database around. There are quite a lot of data inaccuracies and problems, and so they asked if that would be something I was interested in, and it was a really exciting time. So I spent 3 years there helping turn that around and understand where they were, where they wanted to be, and how can we make that really easy for them to work with. I actually ended up in the end making a decision to move down to Cornwall. The opportunity with Seasalt was great because at the time they had roughly 34 stores and they were looking to expand that. So I was there for 5 years and we ended on 60 stores at the time, and that role when I was there was starting out with analysis again and helping them to try and understand some of their data. But whilst there, I was quickly moved on to a team that was completely solely focused on how do we actually support the entire merchandising function in the business to make their data easier to access. Yeah, so it's interesting. During my time at Seasalt, they were going through a ERP migration. I joined as that was happening, so I wasn't involved in the initial implementation. But once it had gone live, there was an update that was required, and I was pulled onto that team because of my data skill set to help with that upgrade. So during that time, that piqued my interest in ERP and the migration process, and how does that all fit together, and how do we move from one system to another, and how do we ensure the data is protected, and all those things. And an opportunity came up at Frugi, which was a fellow Cornish brand who again was in the retail sector. We worked very closely with it at Seasalt and shared training days, and so it felt like a natural progression again to go and join when this opportunity came up. So I picked up the phone, had a conversation with them. They needed somebody to come in and spearhead their data piece regarding their ERP migration, and it just felt like a natural fit. So yeah, I was lucky to get the role, joined them, and suddenly I was, rather than being on a team of people trying to manage this, it was now me trying to spearhead and lead that data migration. How do we move data from one system to another and do it in a way that normalises it, preserves it, and yeah, it was really exciting, really exciting. BrightBridge were the implementation partner we were using to move from our then ERP system to NetSuite. So I was working very closely with them at that point, and BrightBridge and I ended up having a really good sort of relationship through that process. And when we were coming out of the ERP project onto the other side, I was focusing on the reporting piece and how do we take that NetSuite data and bring it together with other data sources that we had around the business. And BrightBridge were really interested in what I was trying to achieve there from a database point of view and from a business intelligence point of view. And we just were chatting, and there seemed to be a really good fit, and an opportunity at BrightBridge came up where we could start progressing other businesses and their data, and yeah, the rest is history really. I could be one day working on an integration between two systems that were never really designed to talk to each other, and I spend my time making them talk to each other. It could be working with a business who has data in all different locations, it's a bit of a mess, and they need somebody to try and come in and help, design, build, or even just help guide them through that process, right down to just some more functional based meetings where we're just chatting through what our plans are, depending on the projects that we're working on. We're just holding meetings, being at training sessions, running training sessions. It's a really varied role, to be quite frank. The short answer is it is the future, and it's here now and evolving, and I think businesses are waking up to the importance of it, more now so than ever. There's three things for me that are really important. Democratization, so how do I make that data ready and available to everybody on the front lines, so if there's an issue that people can react quickly rather than us spending ages trying to figure out what's happened before it's too late to react to it. There's a culture piece, so if a business has a data culture and everybody's buying into it, then it builds the third pillar, which is trust. So that's the point at which we go live with an ERP system, for example. If everybody is in that data-driven culture and is also getting the same response with the data, everybody builds trust. In terms of a business and why it's important, it's the difference between being able to react positively to a situation or even making a decision to drive more business, sales and profit. So it's huge. It could be from a very small minor thing that you're doing on a day-to-day in terms of automation, right down to the bottom line in terms of how do we drive more performance on a week-on-week basis through promotions or whatever it might be. So I would absolutely advise somebody with an analytical mindset. You need to have that logical thought process. If we look at what I did in the start of my career from an analysis point of view, working with those product lines to understand trends and performance, etc. That obviously is a small part of the piece. I think you also need to have a very thick skin, because what we do, especially within sort of BI, data intelligence, is bringing about change. Don't be afraid to try new things. A lot of what I did in my career was because no one quite knew how to do something. So don't be afraid to get involved and just have a go, is the honest answer. Data is one of those sectors where there are no rules. People will tell you there are, but there aren't, there really aren't. It's about you bringing about that change. You've got to be humble, for sure, because you are going to be working with a lot of, especially in data, you're going to be working with people from all different roles, sectors, ways of life, so don't assume you know everything, because you absolutely won't. And also believe in yourself. Of all the advice I can give is believe in yourself, and if you don't, find your biggest cheerleader.